Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Michael and Dale at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98, for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. And one more thing, we know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right, orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March the 1st, 2025. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
On our show today, we'll be joined by Tyler Emory, the general manager of the brand new PGA Tour Super Store. So you golfers, listen up. Also, with the newly elected Congress along with Trump 2.0 headed back to Washington, the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, is back in the news. Guy Furay with the Insurance Source is with us to discuss all things insurance. If you own a business, heads up, there's a new federal form that has to be filed in some circumstances that could cost you $500 a day if you don't file. Chace Campbell, a local attorney, is with us to tell us the details. And finally, Greenville Water Commissioner Deb Sofield is with us again to continue our discussion about the Greenville Water System and what you should know about where your water comes from. It's a busy day, so let's get started. Deb Sofield is an elected Greenville Water Commissioner, one of 5 commissioners who are there expressly to run the Greenville Water System and to do everything that's involved with that. Deb's on our guest line. Welcome. How are you? Good to have you back.
Hey, Joey, thanks so much for having me. I always enjoy speaking with you and your great audience.
We spoke a few weeks back right after Hurricane Helene, and we talked about the Greenville Water System and how you guys had helped people during the storm. And I had a lot of comments on that, and I thought, well, I need to get Deb back so that we can talk more. People were really intrigued with our water system.
And they should be. We are one of few in the nation that actually owns our watersheds in completion and constantly pure water. There's just been a lot of great things that were put in place 130 years ago that you and I benefit from today. And then I will say that the leaders before, you hear the line, we stand on the shoulders, pardon me, of those who've gone before. And I will echo that through the ages. And we have such an amazing team. I couldn't be more proud of the folks who work at Greenville Water and thank our community for being so supportive of us.
Yeah. Before we get into some of the topics we're going to talk about, one of the questions that I had was, I didn't realize that water commissioners were elected.
Yes, that's interesting. So there's 5 commissioners, and since it started out as the City of Greenville Water System, the mayor of the city always sits on the system, and then the mayor gets an appointee. And Knox made history when I was on council back in the 90s when he appointed me. I ended up being the first and to date only woman on the commission. And then there are 3 elected by the city of Greenville. And so after I stepped off of council, I was no longer on the commission. And the guys came to me and said, Deb, it really is a steep learning curve. Would you consider running? And I said, yes. And I was very fortunate to be elected. So I am elected by City of Greenville voters, along with Philip Kilgore and Jim Bannister. And currently it's Knox White as your mayor of the city of Greenville. And then John DeWorkin is who the mayor chose to, in a sense, fill the unexpired term of Will Brazington, who just had too much on his plate, and he has stepped aside. And so John DeWorkin is there. So we are the 5 commissioners that set the direction for the organization. We don't run day to day. We pretty much set a vision, and then we help staff fulfill what we believe is in the best interest of our community.
Yep. And I might add, Deb mentioned that she's the only woman, and that's in a long, long history, 121 years to be exact. Yeah. Well,
But I got to say, it's everyone thinks it's an easy job and you just get to go fishing. No, people, maybe that's what they did years ago. That's not what happens now. And really, I know people might be surprised. We aren't paid. We're one of the few elected bodies that is not paid.
Mm-hmm.
So you do it out of love of community, and I love my community. And I've had such a great time. And I got to say, Joey, if I had to do my life over, I might have been a water engineer.
Really?
It is the most
interesting.
Oh, my goodness. It is fascinating how water literally ends up in your tap, in your body, through the system, and back again.
Yep.
It's a true blessing, and America is blessed. I travel internationally, and I'm telling you, the fact that you can turn on the tap and drink the water, man, we are blessed.
And you hear that story so often of people going to foreign countries and they drink the water and then they get sick. It ruins their vacation. You're not going to have to worry about that in Greenville because, as Deb said, we really are blessed here in the Greenville area. You know what really bugs me a bit, though, Deb, is, and I'm a customer. I have a number of properties that we use the Greenville Water System, and you do a wonderful job, but I don't get to vote because I don't live in the city.
That's right. No, it's a city-owned system, and so let me just put it in perspective. By the goodness of the city, you get to have water out into the county and other places. Now, of course, we're never going to rein that back in. I mean, our job is to sell water.
Yeah.
But no, that is, I hear that. I hear that. But commissioners are available to speak. We are the representative of the community at large. And I have to say, all of us love the job.
Yep, that is wonderful. All right, so let's talk about the process because I got a lot of comments from our previous discussion about how the water makes it to that faucet in the kitchen. And you know, it's intriguing to me, too, because as we've discussed in the past, quite often while I'm out and about on Lake Kiowee in my boat, I'll snap a photo of your big concrete, what do you call that, an intake, or what do you call that?
Yes, it is a full water intake.
Yes. So I'll send Deb a photo of it, you know, saying, hey, I'm watching over it. But, you know, so it starts there and then ends up in my kitchen sink. So talk with us about that.
All right. Well, let's not start at Kiowee. Let me start, if you don't mind, at the two watersheds you are not allowed to come onto. And I get people unhappy about that, but folks, it's for your safety and security. So let's think about the two sheds that I have. Actually, there's three that we pull from. There is North Saluda, which is, you know, up my way. And then we call the other one Table Rock. And then, of course, Kiowee. Now, what's interesting about Kiowee, let me jump there just real quick. Kiowee, that is pretty much owned by Duke Power. Yeah. Now, we are allowed to take 100 million gallons a day. We don't pull that much, but we are licensed by what we call a FERC license, where we're able to do that. But if Kiowee, due to drought or some act of God, the water gets down too low, we cannot pull from Kiowee anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, what makes Kiowee so unbelievably amazing, Joey, is I could pull 100 million gallons a day, and it would recharge by the next morning.
Yeah.
We lose more water out of Kiowee due to evaporation than you ever would by what people are taking. So let me start with the two that are secured, Table Rock, North Saluda. That water has been, in a sense, dammed up. So everything that comes in from the mountains basically levels there, and then it goes to our plant in Marietta. And then it's cleaned at Marietta, and then it goes through the system. So what's fascinating is the water is so pure coming out of North Carolina, and the rains and the natural springs. For the longest time, we did very little in treatment. We did what you call coagulation, which is we add a little alum to it. If there was any large particles, then we were able to, at the Stovall plant, we have a DAS plant, which means we bubble it up and we scrape off the impurities from the top. And then over at Atkins, which is on Kiowee, that's a standard plant where it settles to the bottom and then it's cleaned off. And then that goes through purification and into the system. I want folks to realize that we do a ton of testing. So by the time it gets to you, please know it is good, fresh, and clean, but it has gone through testing to make sure nothing is in there. And that's the difference between Kiowee and then the two sheds we have in the northern part of the county, because no one's allowed in the northern part of the county to come on watershed property. We don't worry about oil or gas or people swimming or using the bathroom. I mean, none of that is in that watershed.
Yeah.
So it comes through much more pure. We don't have to spend as much money or energy to clean it by the time it gets to you. So we pull from 3 watersheds. Ideally, we pull from Kiowee the most, because if at some point we can't pull from Kiowee, we have 2 backup systems.
Yeah.
Which truly is amazing.
Next weekend, we'll continue our conversation with Deb Sofield. In a recent article in the Epic Times, the question of chemical pollutants contaminating water reservoirs was raised. It's a huge problem across the country. I asked Greenville Water Commissioner Deb Sofield if this is something people in the upstate need to be concerned about. Plan to join us next weekend. For all of you golfers, Greenville has a new PGA Tour Super Store. Tyler Emory, the general manager, joins us. That's coming up next. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Many of you who have listened to me over the years know that I love to play golf, even though I'm not that good at it. But I do love to play. Maybe I need some new clubs, maybe some practice in the state-of-the-art simulator. Well, I now have that opportunity. A new shopping experience is now open in Greenville with the country's leading retailer for golf equipment, accessories, and apparel, and its grand opening of the PGA Tour Super Store located on Woodruff Road in Greenville. On our guest line today, the general manager, Tyler Emory. Tyler, how are you?
Very well, Joey. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure for sure. All right, let's. You just opened, a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, October 26th, about 2.5 weeks ago.
So how's business so far?
It's been a lot of fun. We've obviously been very excited to be here in Greenville finally. It's been long awaited, and the excitement and the feel we get from all the customers coming in, we can feel that everyone's super excited for us to be here too. And 2.5 weeks into it's been a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to kind of what we're going to build here.
Yeah. Talk with us a minute about just the history of the PGA Tour Superstore, other cities that you're located in, and how you chose Greenville.
Yes. Us here in Greenville, we're store number 72 within the company. We have them kind of all across the country. The first one opened in Myrtle Beach about 25 years ago, give or take.
Wow. I do remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So started there. It's grown a lot and kind of all over the country now. We've got, I think, only about 10 states, give or take, that we don't have stores in yet. There's a lot of momentum around what we're doing, and the company's growing like crazy. So over the next couple of years, looking to kind of tap into some of those states that we don't have yet.
Yeah. So what is your relationship with the PGA? I mean, are you part of the PGA, or do you have licensing rights?
No, there is just rights to it. We do have a royalty partnership with them. No direct partnership with them, but just through marketing and all of that stuff, we do have that partnership signed where we can use the name for it.
Sure. Yeah. You've got a pretty big store over there. I was in a couple of weeks ago. I think I was there like the Monday after you opened, maybe on the Saturday or whatever. But you have a pretty big store. Are all your stores that size?
Yeah. So our store location here is about 35,000 square feet. With having multiple different locations, they vary in size just because we don't have many new built stores for us, normally taking over some leases from other tenants. Our smaller stores are in that 20 to 25,000 square foot range, and our biggest ones are approaching 70,000 square feet. So we're kind of right in the middle. It's a good size. Feels really big, but there is a lot bigger out there. But with the space we're given here, everything kind of makes sense in the layout and all the services and all the different things we can offer here.
Yeah. Tyler Emory's on our guest line today. He's the general manager of the brand new PGA Tour Superstore on Woodruff Road in Greenville. Give us a quick overview, Tyler, of the products that you offer.
Yeah, so obviously really big selection of equipment and apparel. We offer lessons, club fittings. We also have new practice and play bays, full club repair services. We have a 1,100 square foot putting green, so plenty of area to test out some putters. And it's really good entertainment for whole families, especially on the weekends too.
Yeah. Talk with me about the practice bays and the simulators. I noticed those the day that I was there. did not have time to really hang around. But, I mean, if someone's wanting to work on their swing, is that something that they can come there and work on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have our studio, where we do our certified fittings and then our lessons with our instructor. But outside of that, if someone wants to just kind of come in and work on things themselves, we do have our practice and play bays, which are available to rent. We have TrackMan in there, so it's state-of-the-art technology. Really cool stuff in there. And we do have an annual membership that is $299 a month, where you can get a free practice session each day. So,
wow,
something we really want our locals to take advantage of, and come take advantage of the equipment and the TrackMan and the practice and play bays. And they're pretty spacious in there, so that it can accommodate multiple people at a time. And so far, we've had a lot of groups of people come in and like, hey, we're going to go play a round of golf on the simulators, especially a couple of the days when the weather wasn't as good. So, it can be used to practice and play. Kind of hence the name of it.
Yeah. Can you literally just choose different courses that you'd like to play?
Yeah, absolutely. There's probably 50 different courses in the TrackMan database that you can choose from and get started and have a good time with your friends in there.
Yep. Tyler Emory with me today, manager of the PGA Tour Super Store on Woodruff Road. So Tyler, can you guarantee that you can get that slice out of my game?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have a couple different people in store that can help with that. And especially with us just opening, we're looking to have people in. That way they can kind of take advantage of the services and the people we have here on our team and help them with their game. I mean, that's kind of why we open the doors every day, is just to help people play their best.
Sure.
No matter what it looks like.
Yep. Well, I loved the huge selection of shoes you had. That's what brought me in that day. I was looking for some new shoes and came in, and you have a huge selection. But you also have a great selection of apparel, too. I actually bought a shirt and some pants that day, and, want to come back maybe and look at some clubs. But but it's not just golf, right? I mean, I noticed that you have other items in there as well.
Yeah. PGA Tour Super Store, obviously, going to think it's a lot of golf, but we have a really, really good selection of tennis and pickleball equipment, too. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now. So that's a new one we've picked up on the last couple of years, and we've had a lot of success with it. And especially here in the Greenville market, I know there's a lot of tennis and pickleball people that want to kind of expand on their product selection. So we actually have a really good selection of that stuff too.
Yeah. I really wasn't that familiar with pickleball until just a few years ago. And my wife, Peg, and I bought a new home over on Lake Kiowee in the Kiowee Key community. And it's like every time we went to a function, they had something about pickleball there. And it's just a huge sport now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's growing like crazy. And I know there's a lot of restaurants and those type of facilities that are opened up based off of pickleball.
Yeah. Well, let me just say a big welcome to the Upstate for the PGA Tour Super Store. Now, have you lived in the area, Tyler, or did you move here from someplace else?
I just recently moved back here. Asheville, North Carolina is home for me.
Okay.
So I've been with the company for almost 12 years now, and it's taken me across the country in different areas. But once I heard we were opening Greenville back up, I kind of wanted to get back closer to home and family. So I've just been back here a couple of months, but familiar with the area from the past.
Yeah. Tyler Emory with the PGA Tour Superstore. Again, if you need some new clubs, maybe some new shoes, or you just want to go out and work on your swing, they're located at 1117 Woodruff Road in Greenville, and they'd love to see you in their brand new store. Just been open a few weeks now. Tyler, thanks for your time today, and again, great success in the Greenville market. I've got a feeling you're going to do quite well here.
Absolutely, Joe. I really appreciate it. We're looking forward to it.
In 2021, Congress passed the Corporate Transparency Act, which means there's some new reporting requirements for certain businesses. If you own a business, you're going to want to hear our next guest, Chace Campbell, who talks about the reporting requirements and the $500 per day that you could be fined if you don't comply. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD Weight Loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD Weight Loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part? PhD Weight Loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD Weight Loss Program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. In 2021, Congress passed the Corporate Transparency Act, which, according to the federal government, is designed to curb illicit financial transactions. When Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen introduced the program, she said corporate anonymity enables money laundering, drug trafficking, terrorism, and corruption that harms American citizens and puts law-abiding small businesses at a disadvantage. Reporting requirements were introduced back in January of this year, but many small businesses are just now finding out about it, and they don't understand what they need to do. On our guest line today is Chace Campbell. Welcome, Chace. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Joey?
I am wonderful. All right, so we have this new reporting requirement for small businesses. A lot of people confused about it. I'll be honest, I didn't know about it until about a month or so ago, and some buddies of mine, we were out for lunch talking about it. They own businesses as I own businesses, and they were talking about this, and evidently, if you don't complete these forms, there's going to be some penalties involved. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a law that came into effect January 1st of this year, and it was only effective for people who formed their business this year. In other words, if you had your business December 31 of last year, you were grandfathered in for 1 year. So You're actually in the clear if you have a business before that was formed before this year. But that grandfather clause will expire on December 31 at midnight. And beginning January 1st of next year, the federal government is going to start assessing fines of $500 a day. Actually, it's $591. They actually went up because of the inflation.
Wow. So the LLC that I started in January of this year, I will need to complete one of these. Am I correct?
You actually, if you started it in January of this year, you had 90 days to complete this. It's actually an online filing. After 2024 is done, it drops down to 30 days.
Okay.
So if you form it on January 2nd, 2025, you have 30 days, 30 calendar days to have the filings, and it's all online filings.
Okay. So is this something that routinely, say, for example, the attorney who helped me set up the LLC, is that something that would have routinely been done at that time?
Before this year, it was like the law that no one heard about. And so the answer is no. And then as we started learning about it, and as CPA started learning about it, we started saying, okay, what are we going to do? And at that point, it was on a go-forward basis until we could figure out what we're going to do on all of the catch-ups after the grandfather time expires. So, if you'd formed your business 5-10 years ago, your attorney probably wouldn't have thought to contact you and say, hey, you need to do this.
Right. On our guest line today, Chace Campbell. So talk with us, Chace, about this filing and just kind of break it down for us. Does it cost anything? Do you typically need to pay an attorney or an accountant to do this, or is this something that a business owner can do for themselves? And have you seen enforcement? I mean, have there been situations where businesses have not done this and they have been fined?
I have not seen enforcement yet. Right now, we are with a kinder and gentler federal government who's still trying to get people educated. So they have the ability to enforce it, but they haven't yet. Again, there's that grandfathering in.
Sure.
So they've already announced that as of next year, they're going to absolutely enforce it, particularly in light of a couple of constitutional challenges. The filing itself does not cost you any money. In other words, there's no filing fee. You can theoretically do it yourself. I will tell you that it took me a number of tries to try doing it because it's not as easy as it would appear at first. The questions are worded a little, I won't say deceptive, but you got to read them extremely closely. And even as I was trying to do that myself the first couple of times, I realized, no, there are tricks to the trade on how you need to answer them to get through. In fact, I had one guy who said, I'm going to do it myself. And he finally walked in my office and he said, I've tried it 7 times. I don't care what it costs. Just I'll pay you to do it. So it's not for the faint heart. I will tell you that much.
Yeah.
Particularly if there's any complexity to your business whatsoever.
Sure. Well, I went back and I read what the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, said when she introduced this. I read the news release, but I'm still not quite sure why. What type of information are they looking for, and why do you think they need this?
Well, essentially, what they're saying they're looking for is they're trying to find shell companies, where if someone was going to do money laundering, they would build an LLC that would be owned by another LLC that would be owned by 2 other LLCs. In other words, it was taking investigators an inordinate amount of time to try working backwards. So what they are actually asking for is, we need someone with a beating heart at the end of the day who is either an owner, meaning 25% or more ownership, or anyone who has substantial control over the business. There are certain offices within a business that are statutorily defined as having control: president, general counsel. A lot of CFO positions would have substantial control. But even people who can hire and fire at a certain level without having to get permission are deemed to have substantial control. And so they also must file. Because at the end of the day, what the federal government is looking for is who really controls this business, not necessarily who owns it from a legal perspective, but who has substantial control of the business.
Yep. On our guest line, Chace Campbell, you can find out additional information about his practice at chacelaw.com, chacelaw.com. So, Chace, if there are listeners today who say, well, I have an LLC or I have an S Corp or whatever, and they're just learning about this for the first time, what's your advice to them?
The single biggest advice I would give them is do not wait. Even if you're grandfathered in, there's such a large number of businesses who have not filed that we're going to crash servers if everyone waits until the last minute. So go ahead and file now. The federal government right now is kind of treating it as no harm, no foul, go and sin no more once you learn about it. So if you were not grandfathered in and you should have filed, by all means file. At the very least, it would stop the fines that are accruing at $591 a day.
Yeah. So don't just not file thinking, well, maybe they won't notice it and I won't have to pay the fine that I already owe them. Eventually, they're going to find you, aren't they?
Yes, they are, because what's going to happen in just over a year from now is the banks, when you do any banking, opening up a new bank account, they have to get very similar information. And the federal government is going to take what the banks find out about you versus what you should have filed with the Financial Crimes Network online. And if they don't match, they know where to start looking.
Yeah. Chace Campbell, appreciate your time today, and thanks for this heads up. Again, you can find Chace at chacelaw.com if you have additional questions. If you're a business, if you're not quite sure if you should file or if you need to be filing, Chace can help you out there. chacelaw.com. Chace, appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much, Joey. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. With a new Congress and Trump 2.0, the Affordable Care Act is back in the news. Up next, Guy Furay with the Insurance Source talked with us about Obamacare and what we might have ahead of us. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. On our guest line today, Guy Furay. He's the upstate source for all things dealing with health insurance. Guy's the owner of Insurance Source. You can find them online at insure-u.com, insure-u.com. If you have questions about health insurance, Medicare, employee benefits, because it can get confusing, Guy's always glad to help, and I'm happy to say he's on our guest line today. Welcome, Guy. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, always is, to talk with you. All right, let's just jump right in here. And before we get into maybe some of the meat of what we're going to talk about today, what did you think about the outcome of the elections? And are there any concerns of how this might affect insurance, positive or negative?
Well, my personal opinion is I think America was ready for a change. And I think President Trump has been elected. I think it's clear that he has a mandate and he's got an aggressive list of things that he wants to do. So as far as I think he's just announced RFK is going to be the nominee to head the HHS department, and he's pledged to make America healthy again. So there's an enormous amount, a monster list of things to do in that department. So there's no shortage of goals here.
Yep. In addition, of course, to President Trump heading back to the Oval Office, the Republican Party now has control of both the House and the U.S. Senate. One of the things, of course, that's being discussed again is replacing Obamacare. Your thoughts on that?
Well, if you want to focus on Make America Healthy again, the Affordable Care Act has developed a system. You might remember back when President Obama was going out to his rallies and he said, my plan will make sure you're not discriminated against just because you have a health problem. There was thunderous applause. Well, when he's saying that, he's also saying, my plan discriminates directly against you if you're healthy. Nobody would clap for that. So I think there has to be somewhere in the system, a system where the healthy are not paying an exorbitant rate for health insurance that they don't use a whole lot. Just like in car insurance, your driving record, your lack of accidents and tickets actually has a influence on your premiums. And I think there's a demand from the healthy in America to stop paying the exorbitant rates.
Yep. And just be able to have some affordable coverage for those catastrophic events. You know, it's always the irony of the Affordable Care Act is there's not necessarily anything affordable about it for some people.
Right. Basically, the Affordable Care Act does a lot of wonderful things. It does protect people with pre-existing conditions, and I think President Trump has pledged that people with pre-existing conditions are going to be protected. So it does do that, but basically the Affordable Care Act doesn't address the reasons why health insurance is so expensive, and that's health care costs. Instead, what it does for some people based on their incomes, it transfers those costs from them to the U.S. government.
Yep. That's on our guest line today, Guy Furay with the Insurance Source. If you have questions about health insurance, Medicare, supplements, whatever, give Guy and his team a call. You can also find them online at insure-u.com, insure-u.com. You know, some people, and I've heard this excuse, Guy, from some members of Congress when they would be talking about replacing, because as you recall, there was an attempt to try to replace the Affordable Care Act in President Trump's first term. Now in Trump 2.0, they're probably going to try to improve it again. Some of the legislators, though, made the argument that we're too far into Obamacare to change it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you are correct. In the first administration, the repeal and replace effort, you remember John McCain famously did the thumbs down maneuver.
Yep.
People forget that Rand Paul also voted no. Rand Paul generally is very, very conservative, but he voted no because, in his opinion, that proposal left too much of the Affordable Care Act in place. So because he voted no, 100% was retained in place. So
yeah.
I think right now there is some truth that the Affordable Care Act is kind of baked into the cake. I think there's lots of areas that it can be repaired. I don't know necessarily how the appetite is for a complete repeal and replacement. There are some that would love that, and I just don't know that that is realistic. I think more likely it's going to be a repair some of the significant aspects to it.
Yeah. If Guy Furay were sitting as a member of the U.S. Senate and you had the opportunity to just change it the way you think it should be, what are some of the changes you would make?
Wow, that's a great question. That's a longer question than I can answer.
Then we could talk about on the radio.
Yes, sir. Make America healthy again. There's so much that needs to be done in our entire system. There's wonderful aspects about our healthcare system in the country. People all throughout the world travel to the United States because we have the best physicians. We do have the best medical care. It's just there are lots of challenges, not the least of which, now I think RFK has mentioned that he wants to address this. There's a toxic addiction among big pharma to direct-to-consumer advertising of drugs, which is a monster problem in the country because drugs like Enbrel and Humira and Skyrizi are advertised 50,000 times a day. They end up being monster drugs that cost $10,000, $15,000 a month for one person.
Wow.
That has a snowball effect. So while I'm a free speech guy, I think with healthcare, it's a public good, and you end up paying for the prescriptions that I take because insurance is mathematics. We're one of only 3 countries in the world that even allows direct-to-consumer advertising. So that will be a sign. If the United States is truly serious about fixing our system, about making America healthy again, you start with tacking on big pharma.
Yeah. Well, it's as you said, it's such a big problem. You and I aren't going to solve it in a few minutes on the radio here, but it is encouraging to know that President Trump, of course, back in the Oval Office, and the team that he is choosing to surround him, that this is one of the list, and I think it's pretty high on the list of things for them to tackle in what I'm calling Trump 2.0. So, Guy Furay, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Appreciate what you do. And again, if you have questions for Guy, the Insurance Source is the name of his company. Find him online at insure-u.com. Guy, appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. There's one more thing that he's going to be having to deal with, and that's the Inflation Reduction Act, and its effect in the Medicare program. That's a pretty big thing on the to-do list because it's caused major inflation that the government spent $40 billion to hide the impact of the inflation there. So that's a big thing on the to-do list.
Well, what if you and I get back together and we talk about just that here real soon? How's that?
That'd be great. And thank you so much for having me on the interview.
Sure thing. Appreciate your time. That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.